Hey, this is David Kaplan from the Cap J Hood Show on ESPN 1000 and NBC Sports Chicago. Now get ready to listen and watch to Bulls 101 with Kris and Larro. Take that, Sparkles.
Welcome in, guys, to Bulls 101. I'm here with my guy, Larry Golden, as always, and we're joined tonight by my friends from Bulls Gold, Edward Shuler Jr. and Salim Suterwalla. How you guys doing?
Man, I'm doing great tonight, man. How y'all doing?
Just kicking back from this loss from the Hawks. I don't know, man. The indifference is starting to kick in the last few weeks. I know I said that on Twitter the other day, but I'm just like, end of the season's coming. We're 3 games back of the 10th spot now, and I'm looking at Tankathon a lot more than I should be. How about you guys?
Yeah, I watched the game today, and I was in and out. I'm gonna have to rewatch it again, just to see. I was watching. I didn't start watching the first quarter, but then I saw Pat was going off, so I was like, all right, let me check in then, and get into this game before I miss what he's doing. And then I was so hoping Dotson would get in, but no signs of him. But yeah, the Tankathon, I get depressed sometimes just because, like, I get bad luck with that thing. And I always end up, I rarely ever get to top 3. So I just get, like, depressed. I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. It's like watching a Bulls game right now with no Zach. Vooch didn't play tonight. I mean, I just don't see a point right now. Like, somebody's got to Zach's got to play for me to like be really, really like interested. And right now they're just rattling off losses, so it's tough right now. We're approaching the end of the year. Like you said, they're 3 games out of the play-in spot, and there's really not a whole lot they can do. It's just kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, honestly, man, I guess I'm the sad one because I'm gonna watch either way. But the thing is, it's tough to watch. I'll admit that. But it's the reason why I like to watch is, one, of course, you want to see Pat, but also, like, the biggest thing for me, I want to see how Billy continues to run his offense. Like, I want to see what different things he adds in. I want to see how he plays Tice. I'm interested in all that. I guess there's just more so like the coaching background of me, but I'm just really interested in how he deals with the situations like this, with the injuries and things like that. I'm not happy that he didn't play Dotson because I think this is a perfect time to see what you got in him. But whatever. What can you ask? So.
Yeah. Now listen, Salim, just real quick. I don't want to sell you guys short. I want to make sure everyone who's watching and listening knows who Bulls Gold is. You guys have been doing it for years. It's been a great listen, and have let Larro and I join your guys' show a couple times. We're really appreciative of that. So just wanted to give you guys a quick shout out and thank you so much for being on late with us for Bulls 101. I know you guys have great breakdowns. You guys have great guests on Bulls Gold. So if you guys haven't heard of Bulls Gold before, check it out on any Spotify, Apple, Google Play, all those different places. They really do a great breakdown. And I wanted to have you guys here today. I know you guys do great breakdowns, but I kind of wanted to take it back and kind of do like a decade in review with the end of the season approaching here. So, Stefan knows here. Larro shirt. I know, dude. You got copied. I got my T-Well shirt too.
I didn't know, man. I didn't know.
I got my Marvel shirt on. So
hey.
I got the on. I got this the T-shirt. I got called it
Hornets.
Game, so
are you LaMelo Ball or what's going on?
Hey, I always wanted to catch a shirt at a basketball game, and this is the only time that's happened, so I wear it proudly.
That's funny. Nice. You know what, though? I was thinking about getting one of the Charlotte Hornets alternate jerseys this year, like the gold and mint ones. You guys seen those? Those look really clean. Yeah, I like those a lot.
The Hornets have some of the best uniforms in
Yeah.
the league right now. Like,
I like their new one. That the kind of like it's kind of a blend of like a newer version, but then the '90s version too.
Yeah.
I really like those.
I got a question though before we get into the fun stuff we're gonna do. Man, you guys have some of the best intros. Like, how do you get Black Rob? Whoa, you know what I'm saying? Shock.
It's all me, man. I'm the hip hop kind of
I get around Tupac. It's like, how do you guys get this music, man? Me and Chris are like, oh man, we gotta get stuff that's not copyrighted. We got
I feel like I'm gonna get sued if I put any of that stuff.
I break some rules. I definitely break some rules. But I've been collecting music for a long time. So I have a ton of stuff just like on my computer, on my desktop, and I go through it and just use it here and there. But yeah, I probably shouldn't have. So hopefully no one who can put me behind bars.
I started to put you on blast here, but
my bad, brother.
Man, I always love listening to it. Because a lot of podcasts you'll like fast forward to get to, after the intro stuff. I never do that with you guys. I always listen to the intro music and the outro music. It's always like comes through and just always hits the right spot.
I do wonder if the Dash Radio has our back, because I think they get copyright on like music. So I mean they're kind of a hip hop NBA station. So I think they do get copyright on a lot of music. So I wonder if they get a back, like, because they're allowed to play, because they tell us we should play music. So it kind of smooths into like each show, but
we're not claiming it as ours. We're not claiming it. I did not. No, I get around. Please do not take me to prison. That is Shock G, R.I.P. Shock G. So
that's gonna be like, nah. He's Salim's a brain trust behind that. I know nothing about hip hop. Look at him.
This guy is crazy.
Oh man, it reminds me of that scene in Batman where Batman and Alfred are talking to each other, and they're like, man, this is going to go down. Like, it's going to get really bad when they figure all this stuff out. And he's like, when you figure out my accomplice, he's like, what? I'm going to tell him it was all your idea. What are you talking about? That's what Edward's going to be doing to Salim when the feds hit the door.
I'm the patsy.
Oh man.
All right. So I want to kind of explain the rules of this a little bit. I gave you guys 10 questions, and then Salim added an 11th question that we're going to go over tonight. Looking at the decade in review, so we're going to go through our starting 5 and backup 5 at each position. And then we're going to do, here, let me pull up my list here. We got our most overrated player of the decade, our most underrated player of the decade, our best free agent signing, our worst free agent signing, our favorite memory of the decade, least favorite memory, and we're going to talk about a player that you really thought was going to make it or pan out, and it didn't happen, at least with the Bulls, at least. And then the player who took a big leap that you didn't see coming. And then finally, what are you looking forward to, and what are you hoping for in this next decade of Bulls basketball? And then the bonus question that Salim added: what's your most controversial Bulls take in the last 10 years? So I think we're going to get into a lot of conversation about some of these answers, because I know I'm ready to roast Larro all night long if I need to on some of these answers.
Larro's gonna tell me lose his number when I give my controversial take.
Oh,
I'm excited.
I think I know what's coming. Okay.
So I'll tell you guys, when I was trying to pick out my starting, point guard, shooting guard, I had a tough time. Like, some were really easy, some were real simple. Or like, okay, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy. But some of them were a little tougher. There were some that I couldn't think of anybody for, and then there are others. There were like 5 or 6 candidates that I had to try and choose between. So I'm excited to see what you guys picked. So let's start with you, Edward, to put you on the spot. Who's your starting 5 most like impactful players at each position over the last decade? So that's the 2010-11 season to the 2020-21 season.
All right, so I think this one I feel like it's pretty straightforward for the most part. I may have one that is a little controversial, but
all right,
hear me out on it. because I just hear me out on it. All right, so Rose at point guard. I feel like that's a no-brainer. Zach LaVine at shooting guard. We're gonna go Jimmy at the 3.
Yep.
We're gonna go Lou at the 4. So I wanted to go Lou at the 4 because I don't know, like is playing style a factor in all of this too? If it is, then I go Lou at the 4 because I don't know. I feel like Lou at the 4.
Yeah, there's some wiggle room here. You can take creative license.
Okay. And then this one might ruffle little feathers, but I went with Powell at the 5.
Powell to 5.
Yeah,
Get the offense in.
I
see the frowning over here from Salim.
Yeah,
I'm not. It's more of a okay.
Yeah, Powell at the 5. So Rose, LaVine, Butler, Dang, Powell at the 5. I think I have good defenders and good wing defenders in Butler and Lou. You got plenty of scoring, and Pau Gasol inside outside game can block some shots. I might get killed a little bit on defense, but like an interior. But I like that group.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, Salim, what you got?
All right, so I probably got something that's not too controversial. Rose, obviously, at point guard. I went with LaVine at 2. Jimmy at 3. I went with Taj at the 4. And then I went with Noah at center. Maybe Taj would be a little tricky, but my thing is, like, there was a point where with the Bulls where Taj and Noah with any lineup were just really good. Like, you can mix anyone with those two because they were so good defensively. And Taj is probably one of the more underrated Bulls because he obviously didn't get to start a lot. And I think when they signed Boozer, you're going to make an argument that he should have started over Boozer. But yeah, Taj as a two-way player and then Noah mixing them together with any like lineup was just like a devastating, like you look at like all the advanced stats, like the plus minuses, whatever. Every single one of the lineups were always like plus double with Taj and Noah with anyone. So yeah, that would be my starting 5.
Okay, that's solid. Yeah, 2 solid answers so far. All right, Larro, let's see what you got.
So, I mean, as
if
we
you
know,
don't have D Rose,
we're
ending this podcast right now.
I mean, as we know, I mean, it's unanimous. Maybe it's got to be D Rose at the 1. I mean, we got Zach at the 2. We got Jimmy at the 3. No, I'm just kidding. Jimmy at the 3. And then I went with my boy Ed. I went with the Lou at the 4, and Joakim at the 5. Now, my thought process is we have the scoring in Rose and LaVine. Then we got the guys that you could switch everything with, and the versatile two-way players, and Jimmy Butler and Lou. Lou's like 6'9", so I like him at the 4. And then you got Joe. So you got the rim protection and 2 guys that can play both ends of the floor, and then you got who can cover up for the deficiencies of LaVine and Rose. And Noah is just a guy that I just, he's that vocal, with Jimmy, the 2 vocal leaders. A guy that can lead you on the defensive end, protect the rim, he can pass the ball, obviously, so you could, throw the ball to him at the top of the key and let guys go off, cut off him, things like that. I just like that lineup. It's versatile to me. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So mine, I think that 4 spot is the toughest. At least it was for me. So what I had Rose, LaVine, Butler, 1 through 3. And then at 4, I struggle with this one. I ended up putting, and this is going to sound crazy, I ended up putting Nikola Mirotic at the 4 and Joakim Noah at the 5. And I think it'll make a little bit more sense when I talk about my bench lineup too. But my theory on that is kind of like Salim said, when you look at the advanced stats, whenever Mirotic was here, he was always a positive on the floor. He was always part of the best lineups the Bulls had. Now, he got a lot of crap because his shooting was kind of off and on a little bit. But his shooting gravity, when you got Butler and Noah on the floor who aren't really great shooters, I think Rose needs the driving lane. So having LaVine and Mirotic, in the corners or on the wing kind of gives Rose a little bit more room to drive. And then defensively, I mean, I thought Mirotic is an underrated defender. Obviously, Noah and Jimmy are great defenders. So I thought it was kind of a balanced group of offense and defense. And that was a tough one. I went back and forth on that one a few times with Mirotic. And there were a couple of candidates there. I didn't end up putting Lou as a 4. I put him as a 3 on my backup. So I'll tell you my backups now. And this one was tough because backup point guard the last decade has been a rotating carousel of suck for the most part. And I went through guys like Nate Robinson. I consider Nate Robinson in there. I even consider Chris Dunn. I considered throwing Etuan Moore out there as a point guard, even though he's a little bit more of a shooting guard. But I ended up going with Rondo, and that hurt me a little bit. But I just thought the playmaking aspect, and then my other guys off the bench were Kyle Korver at the 2. I had Lou at the 3, Taj Gibson at the 4, and then I had Powell at the 5. And so I once again, Ed's making faces at me, so I know I'm going to get roasted for these takes, but that was my backup. So, yeah, what you guys think? Yeah, or campaign? Yeah, no campaign. Here's the other rule: was we can't use the skill sets of the guys. We have to use the skill sets of the guys as they were on the Bulls. So, for example, Spencer Dinwiddie was on the Bulls for like 2 seconds, and he's really good now, but he didn't really play much for the Bulls. Campaign obviously is been a great backup for the Suns this year, but he was the tank commander while he was here. Unfortunately, couldn't really develop him. So that's where I'm at. So we'll go in reverse order. So Larro, I got you next. What's your bench lineup? And if you guys have any comments about mine, let me know. Like, you think I'm crazy for this bench lineup?
I like yours.
Okay.
So for me, I have Rondo. I mean, come on, y'all know me. I'm a big Rondo guy. So
okay,
I'm
not crazy.
I had Jamal Crawford as shooting guard. I love that scoring ability coming off the bench. Kyle Korver, shooter off the bench at small forward. Taj Gibson at the 4. And then this one may throw you guys out for a loop. Tyson Chandler.
Wait, this is 2010, 11.
Oh my gosh.
2000. I'm like, hold on a second. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Hold on.
I'm like, this is 2 decades.
It's a weekend. No wonder why I would throw you guys for a loop.
I don't
Tyson's
think
close, but Jamal definitely not.
Crawford is there either. Crawford, I think, was earlier.
Jamal was traded like in the 2000.
I'm tweaking, man. I was watching the draft and doing this. My bad.
You want to think about it for a minute?
No. Yeah. Hold on. Yep. Go ahead.
All right, Salim, what you got?
All right, I'll go with. I went a little more unconventional with my point guard because I figured a lot of people would say the same one. I'll go with Kirk at point guard.
Yeah, I considered him too.
Captain Thrust. One with Kyle Korver at small guard. One with Captain Luol Deng at the 3. The 4 was tough for me. I was thinking Nico, but then I was like, you know what? I'll give nod to Boozer. I felt like Boozer at times was overly criticized. Yeah, he didn't necessarily live up to exactly what we wanted, but I felt like he was always the consummate pro, a great teammate. Like, so many times you can argue that he maybe should have closed the game, and Tibbs went with Taj, and he never complained. Like, he was like one of the first people cheering, for Taj and Joe, and obviously all the things that he would shout, like, get that Joe, or whatever, all the things. He was just a fun he was like a fun guy to root for. I never like I always wonder, like, why do people like hate him? Like, yeah, he's such a great teammate, he's a great guy to root for. So I went Boozer there.
I think it was the contract. I think it was the contract that pissed people off, and the fact that it wasn't LeBron or Bosh or Wade.
He's like the one guy on the team who doesn't play defense, and God forbid you have a Chicago Bull who doesn't play defense.
Yeah. And then
Booze News.
Bruce Coos. Yeah.
Bruce Coos.
And then this one I didn't know if I could use Vooch.
Yeah, you can use Vooch.
Okay,
Yeah, he's part of the decade.
I went with Vooch at 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably. I mean, if we're talking about just pure talent, I mean, Vooch is probably better than Powell. All right, even as good as Powell was. But I just thought he's been here just for a few, like less than a month or so. So I ended up not putting him in, but I think he's a lovely selection there because Vooch is obviously he's been really good. Yeah, the booze. You know what's funny is I really want Carlos Boozer to be the color commentator to replace Stacey King one day. Imagine how much fun he would be as a color commentator.
Good. He's if you've seen him on I think he does commentary on the ACC network and he does pre and post.
Good.
He's a good he is really good. He's gonna be a commentator one day.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay. All right, Ed, let's see what you got. You're the last one up.
All right. So I think I have one guy that no one said, and it might be a little out there, but I went with Rondo with the 1 because, like you all, I mean, you get basketball IQ, you get someone who's a great teammate, and he's a dog out there. So you get playoff Rondo, and you always need playoff Rondo. I went with Korver at the 2. Knockdown shooter. You can't leave him open. You need that spacing, and you really need someone who can offset the fact that Rondo is kind of not going to really take many shots. Then at the 3, I went with Justin Holiday. I like Justin Holiday when he was here. Justin Holiday, when we got him in that trade when we sent Heinrich to Atlanta, he was a pleasant surprise. He was a 3-and-D wing. He could knock down an open shot. And then when we brought him back on that 2-year deal and ended up trading him to Memphis, he was a solid player, I think, for us. I mean, he was on some bad teams, but I like Holiday. So I went with him at the 3. Then you go 4 with Taj and 5 with Noah. So you get a lot of defense up front, but you get them so kind of weak on shooting, but I think it kind of balances out the starting lineup, which is really offensive heavy. So good overall team, I think.
Yeah. There's been some fun players this last decade. There's been a lot of good players. I can't believe Korver led the league in 3-point percentage 3 or 4 seasons during his career already. Yeah. That man can shoot the ball.
Yeah. I was thinking of putting Ben Gordon, but I didn't. He was kind of at that cusp. He technically was at that 10, but then that I don't know if that 2010 counted towards this because it was that 09, 10.
08,
did he live for that? Okay, all right. That's a good thing I didn't keep him at all then. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was just outside of that.
I couldn't remember when he left exactly.
I was trying to go through, but yeah. All right, so that's okay. So not as controversial. I thought Justin Holiday though. Oh, sorry. What's up?
No, I thought Larro had to give.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's got to make up.
Okay. I swear to you, I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so
Larry's gonna have Jerry Sloan as his most underrated player.
Bob Love.
The Bob Love guy was really
cool. Hey, Bob Love was a scorer, brother.
Bob Love was a bucket, man. People forget about it because they weren't alive when he was giving them buckets.
So Rondo at the 1, like we said, and then at the 2, I think I'm gonna go the Italian Stallion. Give me Marco Bellinelli. And
big balls Bellinelli.
And then we'll go Powell at the 5, Taj Gibson at the 4, Kyle Korver at the 3. That's what we'll do.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to say a word about Justin Holiday. He was super solid. I think what happened was he got overextended in his role that last year he was here. And so he was chucking. He was chucking a lot because we didn't have a lot of other options. But other than that, I mean, he was a great signing, and he was good. He was good for the money. I mentioned Etuan Moore as someone that he played really solid as well when he was here. He was kind of an underrated player. I may be giving away some of my later stuff on this episode. But all right, so now let's talk about the most overrated player of the decade. I'm going to piss all you off with my answer, but I'm not going to go first. All right, let's start with Salim this time.
Most overrated?
Most overrated player of this decade.
So I'll say Larry Markkinen. Specifically February. He made everyone think that he was gonna be like this great all-star, perennial all-star, because that one hot month. And like if you look at his numbers overall, if you just subtract that month, they weren't like any much different from his rookie year. He didn't make a lot of improvements. And he was part of that Jimmy trade. That Jimmy trade is like the worst trade ever to happen in Bulls history. So like I don't know, that to me, like I put him there. I put him as the most overrated.
That hurts my heart, man. Hurts my heart a little bit. I had high hopes for Lowry. I think he'll still be a productive player in the NBA for a long time.
Oh, I'm sure he will. But
yeah, as far as the promise of February versus unfortunately what we've gotten so far, I feel bad, man. I wish him the best. I just hope he puts it together because he's got so much talent. All right, let's go Larro next. We'll go counterclockwise. I'm just gonna throw you guys off here.
This is somebody that made me really, really mad. I don't know about you guys, but Carlos Boozer. And the reason why I say that is because 2 performances in the playoffs where we really needed him, he just was horrible, and we gave that man $75 million, and that's my pick. He just really frustrated me in those playoff series.
All right, so I'm gonna get kicked out of Bulls HQ Discord for this answer. But I think Kirk Hinrich was overrated in this decade. He was really, really good, but Tibbs was playing him way too many minutes, and he was always talking about how he's a floor general. He gets stuff done. He's like handling it. Dude couldn't shoot. He just wasn't doing anything on the floor. He wasn't a good defender anymore. And I was always mad because I was like, Etuan Moore is out there on the bench, and he's doing everything Kirk can do a lot better. He's getting paid a lot less. So Kirk Hinrich was mine. And I mostly saw like kind of old past his prime Kirk Hinrich. Now Kirk Hinrich on the Baby Bulls was something else, right? No, he was great. But yeah, in the 2010 to 2020 decade, I think he was far more overrated than his skill level and his production would suggest.
Hey man, Kirk! I'll never forget Kirk when he tackled LeBron, man, on a break, man. That was I loved him for that, man. I can't.
Hey, didn't Nazi Muhammad did that too? Didn't he tackle LeBron?
Kirk. I'm surprised Kirk didn't get a concussion from like smashing the back of his head on the floor.
Yeah,
he got like they gave him a blocking foul on that, and LeBron like steamrolled him, and he smashed his head hard on. I was like, man, is he okay?
Man.
Yeah, see, pre-Rose, Kirk and BG, 100%. But 2010-11 season and on, I thought Kirk was, a little overrated. All right, Ed, what you got?
See, I would honestly, I'm not going to say Kirk was trash or anything, but I would honestly say that even pre-Rose Kirk was overrated to a degree because of how the Bulls valued him. Like, I remember seeing people did not want to trade Kirk in deals for all-stars once upon a time. He was a solid player, but we made Kirk out like he was prime Chauncey Billups or something. Like, he was a solid point guard, but I would say he was more overrated in those pre-years, and then those pre-Rose years, and then when he was with Thibodeau, it was just kind of like overused. But for me, it was between Kirk Hinrich and the guy who I ended up choosing, which is Omer Asik. And I chose Omer because I remember when we let him walk as a free agent, a lot of people on like discussion boards were saying, we shouldn't let Omer Asik walk because he's just as good as Joakim Noah. He's going to be a great starting center for a long time. It's going to be a terrible move to let him go. Asik was a cool backup center, but prioritizing paying a backup like that in the deal that Houston gave him would have been just asinine. And I feel like people really, really overrated his skill set and the fact that he was just a one-way big man who really didn't do anything outside of dunk on offense. And then I mean, he was big on defense, but like I didn't think he was like an elite defender or anything like that. But like
he's one of those guys though that it's like the Gafford of the team where it's this guy who comes in, gives you a few minutes, and you're like, oh, he's pretty good, but you can't play him. You can't prioritize him. You can't overplay him, or else that value goes down fast.
Yeah, and eventually, we got him back, right? Because then we
we did in the Nico trade.
The Nico trade,
the Nico trade.
Didn't he hurt his knee or something like that?
That was back, I think.
Yeah,
back. Okay.
He was ruined by injuries after he went to. I think it was right after did the Pelicans sign him right after the Bulls? I think he stayed there until
Houston did.
Houston, that's right.
I think Houston traded him to New Orleans, and then New Orleans signed him to a big deal, and then he was just kind of out with us after that. So
wow,
it was something like that.
Oh, I'm not even gonna repeat that comment. That's amazing.
Oh my god!
It's fun. I was considering putting him as most overrated too, because kind of the same reason. And then I also remember people saying that him getting injured and that Eastern Conference Finals was like a series turn. I was like, I remember people saying that. I was like, what?
So for our audio listeners, that's Santiago Cordoba in the comment said Ashik was Turkish for a wipe. So I'm trying not to curse on this podcast myself, but that got me rolling. Thank you for that comment. Oh man. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the most underrated player of the decade, and we'll start with Larro, and we'll go counterclockwise here. Who's the most underrated player?
So I had a tie between two guys.
Okay.
I don't know if that's allowed, but for me, it was 2012-13 Nate Robinson and Marco Bellinelli, because like Marco was super clutch. Like that dude would knock down big time shots. I mean, if you look at their stats and clutch minutes when Marco was on the floor in the was that fourth quarter or less, 5 minutes or less, neither team's up by 5 or anything like that. We're plus 22 with him on the floor, and with the Nate, we were plus 26. I mean, these guys, I just loved both those guys, man. I felt like Nate brought a lot of flair. He brought that, when D-Rose was down, I mean, we needed it. I feel like we needed a guy, that did the things he did, you know what I mean? And Marco was solid, man. You could bring the ball up and run, get you in your sets. He can knock down the shot. He can, he was just two really good players in my opinion.
I remember he got the technical in the playoffs for the doing like the big balls.
Oh, yeah.
He had that swagger, man. He had that swagger, and you need a guy like that in your team that
he was fun.
That supreme confidence. Yeah.
Also, it's like the context of Nate's season was that fans were like, we were all so pressed over like Rose's injury that Nate was just such a bright spot because he's just out there on the court balling and having fun. And it was just really kind of a bright light in a time where everyone was just like, fan base was just going back and forth over like, who's right, Rose or your team Rose, your team general manager and ownership and all. It's just
kind of along that line. So my pick was I had a hard time because Nate Robinson was one, DJ Augustine was another, Etuan Moore, and I was like, dude, it's all these small guards that Tibbs brought in as reclamation projects and made really effective during their time here. So that was kind of like the most underrated, I thought, was those guards. So I picked Etuan Moore. I'm still salty to this day that they let him go to New Orleans when they could have signed him for $8 million a year, which is nothing. They could have given them Felicio deal and would have been way more productive than Felicio, unfortunately. But that was my pick. But those Tibbs guards were, the Rose replacements. Tibbs, what do they call it? The Tibbs magic. They always had that. Hey, you told more. This is the game. They're showing right now. This is the game he had. He had the game winner against the Thunder. That was a beautiful game from him. But he was just always so solid. He came in, he played hard defense. I always remember people would try and post him up because of his size, and they'd never be able to score on him. Played solid defense, stayed within his role. He wasn't the guy who was out there taking wild shots. He just did what he was supposed to do out there, and did it quietly.
Yeah. The kicker with him was like we actually developed him. The Bulls actually developed him, and then they let him go.
for
like
nothing.
he would,
Yeah.
he would have been like. I remember that offseason too. Like if they had signed Rondo, that would have been fine, obviously. And then instead of going Wade and just kept Moore, that team would have been pretty good because you would have had Wade out of the lineup. I think who was not like he put up like numbers and his name was like obviously name recognition, but he wasn't very good that season. Like the team was worse with him on the floor. So you have Nico, who not ironically played well when Wade went out the lineup because he was being involved more in the offense. And I think, again, when you look at plus minus and all the advanced stats there, anytime Jimmy and Nico are on the court together, the Bulls are just really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been a much more interesting team and fit wise and everything. Like I said, having more as that 3-and-D guy, I think it would have been better.
You know what's funny? That off season specifically has always pissed me off because there were some free agents that summer that could have really worked well, gone younger and more athletic. For example, the Rockets were shopping Patrick Beverley that summer, who was making $6 million a year. They were looking for a late lottery pick or mid-first rounder. We had the 14th pick, who ended up becoming Denzel Valentine. We could have traded that pick and gotten Pat Beverley for $6 million. We could have re-signed Etuan Moore for $8 million, which is what he got to go to New Orleans. Courtney Lee got $12 million a year. He was a productive player for the New York Knicks for a few years. We could have built around, and we could have had that team, Etuan Moore, Courtney Lee, could have had Jimmy, Nico, and Robin Lopez, I think, was there. We had Taj still. We had Tony Snell. We had Doug McDermott, all productive players. I think that team would have been a lot more fun to watch and cost a lot less. Instead, we paid Dwayne Wade $41 million for 1 year of service. And it was cool to see Wade come home, and he was a lot of fun. I mean, he's another player that plays a lot of passion. Obviously, he's a future Hall of Famer. But yeah, as far as what I would have done with the team in building around Jimmy and really giving it a shot, they didn't really do anything. They didn't do anything right on that season. So yeah, we could have done Rondo too, but yeah. And we could have not cut Spencer Dinwiddie for no reason. That would have been sweet.
For Michael Carter Williams, that's what we cut him for.
We didn't even do that. Listen, we had enough roster space to keep him. We cut him so we'd go into the season with 14 spots, which they eventually filled with RJ Hunter, like a few weeks into the season, if I remember right.
I can't remember that.
If you guys remember RJ Hunter, you shouldn't, because he didn't really do anything.
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't think he played, did he?
No.
He played like probably a dozen minutes or something. That was it. I mean, he was one of the Celtics' many first-round wasted draft picks that they.
Yeah, he got drafted in the first round after he hit that buzzer beater in the NCAA tournament where his dad tore his Achilles celebrating. If you remember.
Oh my gosh!
Because his dad was the coach of Georgia State. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
RJ
Larro should know that.
RJ Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And then the other guard from Louisville, then he like broke his leg. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Man. My bad. Went off a tangent there.
All right, I gotta roast someone in the comments. Santiago Cordoba, you're wrong about Niko Mirotic. He was my other choice for most underrated.
I knew it was
got hate.
I knew it was coming.
Always got hate from the fan base. That man was a positive every time he was on the floor. Every time he was on the floor, and whenever he got good minutes, he played like all-star quality. The problem was the reason Niko Mirotic was inconsistent is because they kept they just put him in the corner, and they'd have Wade and Rondo and Jimmy out there taking all the ball space. Mirotic needed the ball in his hands. He needed to be like a second or third option on offense. And people always talked about March Nico. The reason it happened every year is because there were always major injuries in that February or March. One year it was Rose and Powell. Another year it was Jimmy and Wade. And it was Rondo. Like every time their top guys went out, Nico stepped up and he performed really, really well. And then you guys remember the year we were supposed to tank. He got punched in the face by Bobby Portis. But when he came back, we went on a 7-0 run. And when he was on the floor, the Bulls played like a 55-win team that year when Nico was on the floor. and they played like a 9-win team when he was off the floor. He was off of playoff games. That's because number one, it's a small sample size, and number two, he was back to his role as like the 4th or 5th option. But you remember the season he was with New Orleans Pelicans, and they smoked the Blazers in the first round with Nico on the floor. So I always thought he got a lot of undeserved hate, but I could spend the whole podcast on Nico Mirotic.
I agree with you, because that was my point with when I said, like, if they had not signed Wade, I think that the Nico that we got in that March, because that's when, like I said, that's when Wade went out, and all of a sudden he just went on this tear.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, the team would have been so much. I think the team would have been so much better. I think they likely would have been higher than an 8 seed if they never signed Wade and kept Moore and let Nico be involved more on the offense.
Yeah. So, all right, I got us off on a tangent. I think Ed, you went with your most underrated. Salim, did you give yours yet?
I did not. So this one's going to be like, people are going to wonder why I'm having him here. Look, so hear me out before anything. So I'll say most underrated is Jimmy Butler, and here's why he's the most underrated. When it came time to trade Jimmy Butler, everyone was like, yeah, let's trade him. Like, there was too many people in this town that were like very comfortable with trading a top 10 player, top 15 player, and making excuses like, well, Gar and Pax messed up so badly that they can't build a good team around this guy anymore. So yeah, let's just trade him. I was just flabbergasted at that time. I was like, why would you want to trade such a good player that is committed to staying with you guys? That to me never made sense, and I was always really mad. To this day, I'm still mad. Like, you can tell, I'm getting all angry right now talking about it. But like,
this is like when C. Red Fred talks about Tibbs playing guys too many minutes in the game. He gets super fired up.
Like, to this day, like, it was always like, I would just never made sense that final year before we were going into that offseason, like local radio, everything. Should we keep Jimmy? Should we keep Jimmy? I was like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you talking about trading this guy? So yeah, to me, that's why I say, like, he's one of the most underrated players in this last decade, because you were just so okay with like letting this guy go, and you saw, like, if you put a right team around this guy, he can really be he can at least be that 1B.
Yeah. Ed, I just want to make sure, I can't recall who your most underrated player was, and I just want to make sure I did give you the chance to let us know.
So my most underrated player is Kyle Korver. And
okay. I skipped you, my bad.
Kyle Korver, when he was with the Chicago Bulls, he only started 7 games. He played behind Keith Bogans. Kyle Korver only started 7 games for the Bulls. His minutes, he averaged each season 20 and 22. He shot 41% from 3 his first season with the Bulls and 43.5% in his second season with the Bulls. If you remember why the Bulls traded Kyle Korver to Atlanta afterwards, it's because the Bulls did not want to go into the luxury tax, and paying Kyle Korver $500,000 more than his contract would have gotten them into the luxury tax. So they had to trade him to Atlanta, which they got a future ham sandwich back in return. I don't think that ham sandwich turned out to be a good 3-point shooter, but
I think that ham sandwich is still in the fridge molding.
Yeah, still picking up mold. But I'll tell you what Kyle Korver did after he was traded from the Bulls to Atlanta. His 3-point percentage the first year, 45.7. The next year, 47.2. The next year, 49.2. So his 3-point percentage got better each year after he was traded to the Bulls, and he also made an all-star team. Kyle Korver was so underappreciated. We already knew he was an elite 3-point shooter, but we did not play him enough next to a point guard who was one of the best players in the league at getting into the paint. So having Korver on the floor to create more spacing would have been logical, but we just kept limiting his minutes. So to me, and even then, like, when Korver was traded, you would see some people who were just like, Korver's, I mean, he's a good shooter, but he can't defend. So it's just like, but who cares? He's one of the best shooters ever. So, like, I just feel like Korver never got his due here. He never got the playing time he should have. I'm not saying he should have played 36 minutes a game, but he should have played a lot more than 20 or 22. So, and just the fact that we traded him for a copier is just stupid. So I'll say Korver is the most underrated. And honorable mention, even though maybe not underrated, but underappreciated, Robin Lopez should get some sort of credit here for all the crap that he played with. He's a solid basketball player. Maybe not as a great starting center, but I mean, he plays hard on both sides of the ball, sets good screens. He made Markkanen's rebounding look a lot better than it should have, because after Robin left, Markkanen's rebounding numbers just went straight down in terms of Andrea Bargnani. So Robin Lopez deserves just a shout out in all of this, because he was a good teammate, never complained, and was just so much fun here. And we got to see him like go WWE against mascots all the time.
Exactly.
So that was cool.
He's hilarious. He had the best answers. He's the most eccentric dude, the weirdest, like he had the best answers. His rebounding, and there was always a good chance in any game he played that he'd try and punch somebody on their team.
Yeah, the random Robin Lopez ejection game, you were good for it every season. And the one with the Kings where he like where he cursed out the refs, and wasn't he trying to come back on the floor with like a chair? Or something like that?
He got so heated. He got so heated.
Yeah, he had like the weirdest temper. Like out of nowhere, he would just snap and he'd be uncontrollable. Like remember that fight he got him in Ibaka?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, it was just like random. It was like he would be like the coolest guy, and it was just like he would have moments where he would just go Hulk, like like just can't control his anger and just do crazy things like that ref stuff, and just fighting guys. It's like
yeah.
It's fun.
I agree, though. Robin Lopez was an absolute gem while he was here. An absolute gem. Couldn't have asked for more. All right. So our next one is our best free agent signing. So Ed, I'll start with you on this one.
Our best free agent signing. Let me see what I have for this one. I said Pau Gasol. I think Pau Gasol, I think, is easily the best free agent signing. He didn't cost much. I think $7 or $8 million, which was.
The MLE, it was like the mid-level exception at that time, I think.
Yeah, and he was fantastic with us. Let me pull up his stats real quick during his time in Chicago. So Powell was one of those guys where it's like John Paxson always gets his guy in the end, and you got Pau Gasol at age 34, but Powell averaged 18 and 12 his first season in Chicago, and he averaged 16 and 11 the next season, and he always averaged a good number of assists. He was largely healthy in Chicago, 78 games the first season, 72 the next season. Him and Jimmy Butler had great chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean,
that lob play they'd always run every game.
Yeah, that alley.
They get that every time.
That Pacers one I remember all the time.
I know Paul George remembers that play.
Yeah. Powell was awesome. Like, just again, one of those players you wish, man, if we had him like longer than, or like before he got older. But I mean, he was a really good player. He was a bargain for the contract, and I mean, you can't ask more for 2 All-Star appearances out of that. So
he was a good one. I was struggling between him and then my pick. My pick is Thaddeus Young. Just maybe it's recency bias. I liked Pau Gasol when he was here, but my issue with him was, it wasn't necessarily with him, it was that management wouldn't have him come off the bench under any circumstances. And I thought him and Noah together didn't work as well as I would have liked. And I wanted to see Taj next to Pau. I thought that pairing worked better, and I thought Nico paired better with Noah. So that was more my frustration with Pau, but Pau was incredible. I mean, as you said, Ed, he was here a little later into his career. We love getting the retirees. It seems like with Rondo and Wade and Gasol. So, but he was great. But I thought Thaddeus Young has been really, really awesome. Obviously, this year he's been incredible. Tonight he put up another great performance. He's just been a really solid vet. just does some. He's just so much fun to watch with that stupid lefty hook. He always does, like, he gets everybody with it. That's the other thing is that Lopez, that little turning hook that Lopez would do and could not be blocked. That's what Thad's left hand reminds me of. Is it's just that unguardable little thing that you can flip up anytime. Yeah, so that was minus Thaddeus Young, but at Pau Gasol, I was the other guy I was strongly considering, and probably overall impact was a better free agent signing, but I thought Thaddeus was really, really solid. All right, Larro?
Same thing, Pau Gasol. I remember being pretty happy that we signed him. I mean, he was still really skilled, pretty good shooter. I mean, he was just a great player, man. I mean, there's not really much I can knock him on. I mean, definitely defensive, on the defensive side of the ball, but yeah, man. The one person that I wish would have worked out is Otto, man. I wish he could have stayed healthy, and I would have loved to see what he looked like healthy and no injuries. You know,
man. So. Wizards Otto was really good.
Yeah. Yes, man.
Yeah. All right, Salim.
All right, I'm gonna go a little unconventional. I did think about Pau, but I figured, one of you guys, I should say, would pick him. And then Thad was another one I was thinking too, but I figured, someone will pick him. So I went with Nate Robinson. I saw a comment saying only for one playoff series. That's wrong. Nate Robinson was good all year. Like he gave a lot of offense to that team that was offense deprived because they didn't have a lot of shot creators, and he was like one of the only shot creators on that team at that point. Like obviously we had Lou and other guys, I believe, around that time, but obviously he was like the only one that could actually create for himself, and he stepped in when obviously that was the year D Rose with his ACL, everything that happened that whole season, and then the playoffs. Arguably one of the most memorable playoff games, not only in post-dynasty Bulls history or dynasty history, but Bulls history in general. None of us will ever forget that game. Like, what he have, like 26 points or something in that fourth quarter? Yeah. Like, he put up a stat that I think even MJ hadn't done or something like that. So, yeah, to me, when you consider that we signed him for the vet minimum, I think that was probably arguably one of the best free agent signings for the Bulls, and he was just a fun guy to root for. Like I remember the things that he used to like getting. With Steve Novak, like the discount checks. He would like mock Steve Novak every time they played the Knicks. He would do like the discount double check thing because Novak was from Wisconsin, so he was like a Rodgers fan, Aaron Rodgers fan. So like Nate would go off on that. But yeah, to me, Nate Robinson was really big for us that season. Did a lot for the Bulls as far as, taking, nights, taking over for the offense. And yeah, he was a fun guy to root for.
Yeah, Santiago, he did try boxing, if you remember recently, and that didn't work out too hot for him.
Oh, yeah.
He said he wants the rematch, man.
He better not. Just I don't want to see that again, man. Snoop Dogg doesn't want to see it again either. Snoop Dogg was like praying for him during the fight.
I need to see Snoop commentate games, anything. That is the most funniest thing.
He's hilarious. All right, Salim, we're going to start with you for worst free agent signing of the decade.
Worst free agent signing of the decade. I am going to go with Rip Hamilton. That was I'm gonna hurt Larro a lot.
Larro needs medical assistance.
I'm gonna hurt Larro a lot today. No, he was the reason I say he didn't live up to what we wanted from him, and I think also because I remember if the Bulls had been just a little more patient, they could have gotten Jamal Crawford. Like I remember they went after Jamal earlier, but Jamal wanted a certain amount of money, but he wasn't getting that from any team. So if they had just been a little bit more patient, like maybe a week, I feel like more patient, they could have gotten Jamal for the same amount that they got Rip Hamilton. And I think he would have been a much better fit for the team too. So yeah, I would go with Rip as far as being the most or worst, I would say, free agent signing.
All right, Larro.
For me, it's Dwayne Wade, easily for me. I hated the signing. I mean, obviously, I was a D Wade fan, but I hated the signing. I mean, I just couldn't get over the fact of young and athletic, and we go and get D Wade, and towards the end of his career. And what was it? $47 million for 1 year? What was it? Somewhere around there?
It was
like 2 years, 40 million, but because of the buyout, it ended up being 1 year, 40 something.
Oh,
1 year. Yeah, it was like 1 year 39, 1 year 40 after the buyout. Yeah, if you add it all up, because he didn't play in that second year, but he got a lot of money.
No wonder why he liked saying that Chicago was one of his favorite. Man, come on, man.
Of course it was.
1 year? Golly. But yeah, man, D Wade easily for me. You would think that a guy. Yeah, man. Anyway, yeah, it was D Wade. I won't go on a tangent.
Yeah. For me, it was between D Wade and Jabari Parker, and that one was tough because I felt like Jabari Parker was a good kind of buy low candidate, even though they ended up paying him $20 million. They weren't doing much of that cap space anyway. So I ended up going with D Wade as well, just because of the circumstances of that year and what I thought they could have done in free agency instead. I thought the opportunity cost was much, much higher than with Jabari Parker. But Jabari was a tough fit from the start. I did like that they brought him in just to see if he could, if he had any juice, and it didn't turn out so hot. But I wasn't opposed to the idea in general, whereas with Wade that was tough from the beginning. So, all right, Ed.
For me, I'm gonna defend the Wade signing a tad. I'm only gonna say this. I think when the Wade signing happened, and I'm a little biased because I do have the Wade Chicago Bulls jersey, and I wear it proudly, so feel free to hate. But to me, signing Dwayne Wade was a chance for the Bulls to flip the narrative of like star talent in order to kind of like recruit star players in the future. Like they had Jimmy Butler, and Dwayne Wade was supposed to kind of get them in that inner circle in a sense where he could kind of like vouch for the organization. So to me, that was kind of how I looked at it, in the sense that, okay, well, Wade's coming here, he's a big time player, so it might be past his prime, but maybe this could help change the narrative a little bit, that like, you can come to Chicago. After Wade criticized them in 2010, I think it was, where he said the Bulls aren't a loyal organization and all that jazz. So I thought it was a chance to change that, but the result in the end ended up being really bad. So I said Jabari Parker because to me, it just from jump, it was just like, what? it was a lot of money for a really, really flawed player who didn't fit your team.
Yep.
Like seamlessly, like immediately. And we didn't have a good plan. Like, wasn't he like coming off the bench? Like what?
They started him at small forward, which he was not his position.
Yeah,
and they kept changing to small forward.
Of course, the infamous interview, like the day he did the introductory presser, and then he goes on Bernstein show and says, "Oh yeah, we don't play defense or whatever, or we don't get
yeah."
So from jump, that signing was like not good.
Yeah, you were right about Wade vouching for an organization. Unfortunately, it wasn't the Bulls. He vouched to Jimmy Butler about the Miami organization, and that's where Jimmy is now.
4D chess.
I was going to go with Jabari, but the only reason I didn't is because they only signed him for 1 year. Like, I didn't like the signing at the time either. Like, it didn't make sense. I rather had them, like, do a trade for draft picks or something like that. But I was like, you know what? Luckily, it was only a 1 year deal. The D Wade, probably, the only reason I didn't pick D Wade is because I wanted to be a little more unique, just try to change it up, because I figured one of you guys would pick D Wade. So I figured I'd throw a jab at Rip Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right, man. Rip is cool, man. Rip's cool. Jabari was only good for one thing for me, man, and that is that. What was that? The opening presser when he went off on that tangent about D Rose. That was, I was like, that's my boy. That's my boy, man.
Yeah.
But then you saw him on the court, and you're like, Bari, what? What is you doing, man?
All right, Larro. Who is what's your favorite memory of the past decade in Bulls basketball?
I mean, this is easy for me. It's D Rose game-winning shot, go up 2-1 on Cleveland, man. That's my. I poured water on myself, Gatorade on myself. I wanted to feel like I was at the game. What do you mean? I just D Rose, man, especially everything. A lot of people say the city didn't hate on him, but dude, the city was just like I shouldn't say the city. A lot of people that I knew was like crapping on that dude left and right, and for him to hit that shot, and you could see it in his face. Like he was like, man, you could just tell like, yeah, like this is fake love, but I'm gonna just do, it was dope for me, man. That was my memory, man. Can't get enough of that one.
The longest 5-second call of all time, by the way.
Yeah.
Whatever. Hey.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm not complaining about it because David Black got a timeout he shouldn't have had.
Oh my god!
The
Later in that
following
series.
game. Yeah. The next...
So
no.
Yeah.
They didn't. He didn't get the timeout. They just didn't. He didn't. They didn't have a timeout.
Yeah, they yanked him off the floor before the ref saw him.
Yeah, Ty Lue. But that should have been a technical right there because the ref was standing there.
Yeah.
The ref saw him and whatever.
I will say that I know this is blasphemy. So I know that you guys are going to, but I was literally mad at Jimmy for a very long time. And I know it's like, Larry, that's LeBron James. That's LeBron James, Larry. I mean, like, what do you expect him to do? But I was so mad at Jimmy. Like, I know it's blasphemy, but I just, oh man, I couldn't get over it, man. I was so mad at Jimmy, man, and now I'm feeling the hurt from him gone. So,
yeah. So we're already an hour into this, and we're only on the 6 questions. we're gonna try and speed it up a little bit, so I can hopefully get through a little bit more. So, Salim, you're up next. Favorite memory?
Favorite memory? It technically counts more than one memory, but I'm saying Jimmy owning the Raptors. There was he would just there was like a countless winning streak against the Raptors, and it would be just Jimmy. There'd be times when you think they were gonna win, and then Jimmy would just be like, "Nope, you're not winning this game." And especially that one game where he had 40 points in the second half, like he tied or broke an MJ record. And then there was like those memes with Jimmy holding his 2 sons, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, like stuff like that. So that always sticks out. I remember that where Jimmy always constantly. Oh yeah, and then Raptors fans calling Jimmy their father, like the Raptors father. So where that meme came from because that's always something that.
Freddie Froggy Fresh, who did that song? Jimmy Butler's your father.
I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah, but that's
Butler's the father. Yeah, that's a good one.
But no, yeah, that's I'll say is my my favorite memory.
All right, Ed.
My favorite memory is the closest time of this decade the Bulls got to winning a championship, and that was Game 1, 2010 Eastern Conference Finals against Miami. They blew Miami out. We were 3 games away from a title, and the Taj Gibson dunk on Dwayne Wade. You can't tell me after that game that you did not feel like this could happen. Like we could get to the finals. And yeah, we lost the next 4 games, but I don't think it gets higher than that. Like that was the time where it was like Bulls back, like we're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. The only thing was missing was Ray Clay. I mean,
yeah,
Bulls basketball, like it was back. So that's my favorite time.
All right. So mine is the real best dynasty of all time, which is the TNT Bulls, who still have not lost a game I can't remember what the record is now, but it's like 20-something straight games that they have won on TNT Thursday or Tuesday night. And we were robbed of any TNT games this year, unfortunately. So the streak is still alive, and may it long live forevermore.
Yeah. They won't put us on TNT to defend it. it's a TNT at home, so it has to be TNT
at home TNT games.
Yeah. At home TNT.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's talk about a player who you really thought was going to be great with the Bulls and didn't work out. And this one was tough for me because I feel like I had pretty reasonable expectations for most. I would say probably Chris Dunn was the one that hurt the most because we made the big Jimmy Butler trade and really counting on him to kind of be the point guard of the future. I know we've used that moniker on like 16 different point guards at this point. But that one was tough for me. So Ed, what you got?
I'm going to say this is a tough one. I'm leaning towards Ronnie Brewer. I really liked him I thought he was kind of an underrated free agent signing. Not that he was terrible with the Bulls, but I thought he would have I thought he would have more of a lasting, longer term impact off the bench because he was really good with Utah. So I liked Ronnie Brewer, and I think we got rid of him after a few seasons, and he was not really that good in his second season. So leaning towards him with that one.
Salim?
So at the beginning, I didn't have high hopes for this guy, but I think there was a point where he figured it out. And I'm saying Tony Snell. There was a point that he had this stretch where he just I thought something clicked for him, and it was like, oh, he figured it out. Like he had some kind of Jimmy Butler jump that just he gets it now. He knows what to do, and he's just playing really well. And I thought, we got this guy who's going to be a solid player for a long time, and it was a fluke. So again, a little unconventional there, but I just thought at that moment I was like, oh my God, this guy got it. I think there was also a stretch there. In that stretch, he had outplayed LeBron or something like that, and I was just like, oh man, this guy's got it. But I guess it was just like a random what do you call it? Heat check or whatever you want to call it.
A heater or what?
A heater, heater. That's what. Shout out to Mark K, the heater. He likes talking about the heater all the time. So that's what it was.
For me, I watch a lot of college basketball. So Dougie, I thought Dougie was going to bring something to this team that we needed in terms of scoring, versatility, and
that hurts.
And it just didn't work out. That was. I was happy. I was like, Dougie buckets, let's go. It just, but it just didn't work out. Man. Didn't work out.
Yeah. So I'm terrible at math and counting, so I skipped our least favorite memory. Maybe I'm just trying to black it out of my mind. But what's your guys' least favorite memory? I want to start because it's not a specific memory, but it was the entire Bulls Wizards playoff series. The year that Noah was kind of hobbling on that one leg, basically. That one was that was really tough to watch for me because they'd gotten rid of Dang. Noah had just put together a heroic effort that year. Rose was out, and you just felt like, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like after that series, this may be the end of this iteration of the team. We may never get back to these heights because we went into that series as favorites, even as it was, and that was a tough series. So that one was one of my least favorite memories of the decade. Larro, let's go with you next.
Mine is damn, it hurts now even thinking about
I know. I didn't go with the obvious one. That one really
is the Portland when I was like, man, my boy is back. And he's coming back down the floor, and you see him take that limp, and you just know as a Bulls fan, you're like, oh no, he hurt himself again. I was listening to I can't remember who it was, but Matt Barnes had heard a story about after that game that I can't remember who it was, but he was talking to someone, and he said that you walk past the locker room, everybody's getting on the bus, and he said he had looked in the locker room, and Derek was on his crutches, looking at himself in the mirror, and like he said you could tell that like Derek was just mentally he was just shot. You know what I mean? And that's just. I remember watching this game, bro, and I was, because, man, that hurt, man. That hurt me. That's my least favorite one right there because my hopes were high, and I thought he was over that ACL, and then boom.
Yeah. Salim?
Unsurprisingly, I will go with the Jimmy Butler trade. I mean, you know me. I hated I never liked it. I was angry when it happened, and yeah, I guess Zach salvaged a little bit now, but I just still I can't believe they traded him. That's it. I sound dejected talking about it.
Just thinking about it.
For me, it was close between trading Derrick Rose. That one, I mean, granted, it was one of those things where you knew that had to happen, but it still sucked. But I didn't end up going with that one. I went with Joakim Noah's last game with the Bulls, where he got injured, where shoulder, and just ran off the court, and that was the last we ever saw Noah in a Bulls uniform. I feel like
that hurt.
I can't think of a more undeserving farewell that a player got from a team. Or not, obviously the Bulls didn't plan for him to get injured, but just because it happened that way, it really sucked. So, I'll say that one.
They need to invite him back when fans
better
and give him a real, he needs to hear that.
Yeah, AK said they were going to do that, so we'll see if they follow through. All right, let's talk about a player who took an unexpected jump. Now, so I feel like the obvious answers here are either Jimmy or Zach. But if you guys have another one, let me hear it.
No, I have Zach.
All right,
I did not see. Yeah, I didn't expect his Steph Curry scoring outburst from him. Like the percentages. Not saying he's as good as Steph. I'm just saying the numbers he was averaging, just unreal efficiency. Guy going off, just flamethrower, just hitting threes whenever on anyone's mug. I did not see this happening. So, and obviously he's even made improvements defensively this year.
Yeah.
So play improvements as a playmaker. Yeah. So I'll go with Zach.
Yep.
Easily, Jimmy. Easily.
Yeah. So I thought Jimmy or Zach, both of them, I think were worthy candidates of that answer. Let's see. So last one is, or the 10th one here is, what are you looking forward to, or what are you hopeful about? Let's see how I phrase it. What is it that you want for this next decade of Bulls basketball? So I'll start with this one. And to me, I'm not a championship or bust kind of guy. I didn't mind the rebuild. I mean, the Butler trade sucked, but I thought, well, I don't mind rooting for a losing team as long as I can see the development. So what I really want to see this decade, though, is being able to have some guys on the team that you can really root for and watch them blossom into great players, and watch that blossom into a playoff run, or a deep playoff run. I don't even need a championship, but I want to see like the baby Bulls in the in the aughts, those years. I would love to have a team that you could root for like that could kind of take it a little further than they did. That would be what my hope would be for this coming decade. Let's go with you, Ed.
I would say my hope is that the Bulls are consistently entertaining again. And we spent the last 3 or 4 seasons talking about tanking, and even now with the team, the games are just, it started, the season started fun, and then it just kind of gradual dive. So just I missed that period where the Bulls were a solid team that you knew you could turn on a TNT ESPN game. You knew you could get a good game against them versus someone else, and just being able to have that, is valuable as a fan. Like you, I'm not a championship or bust guy. If the Bulls don't win a title in the next 15 years, I'll live. I'll be fine. I mean, it would be great to see them win a championship, but I just get more value out of seeing an entertaining team that wins games, can win a playoff series or two. And, you know, when you have friends over, y'all can watch the game and no one's going to make fun of the fact that you're a fan of that team. So, yeah, I look forward to the day where the Bulls are on national TV again and they can just be fun.
All right, Salim.
Same with you guys. Because I'm not championship bust. I think an organization that's very underrated is the Pacers. Like you look at their the last 30 years. I mean, they barely have like droughts where they're just a really bad team, right? They consistently have a competitive team. They have functions where they have like guys on their roster able to find even when not having top 10 picks. Making a trade or whatever, or a top 4 pick or whatever, they're continuously able to be a competitive team, and that's what I would love that at the very least. Just have this team that's constantly competing, winning like 45, 50 games, and if something more happens, that'd be great. But it'd be fun to see, like I said, a competitive team that's playing like good basketball.
It's kind of the same as you guys. Like, obviously, we all would love a championship and be able to go to Grant and party it up and see some of our favorite players be drunk while they're doing their speeches and stuff. Like, I would love to see that. But I just want to see I'm looking forward to seeing how this front office guides this organization. I think right now there's a lot of skepticism in terms of like the move they made with Vooch and what are they going to do because the cap is. I'm looking forward to seeing how they shut some of that skepticism up. I want to see how they go about their business. I want to see how they develop Pat. I want to see how they continue to grow this program and make this organization where stars want to come play again. That's what I'm looking forward to. These guys have great relationships with these players, some of the star players, some of the pretty good players. So I want to see the direction. I want to see it through. I just want something different, man. I'm tired of the last couple of years where we're just like watching a game, but we know nothing's coming of it. I just want to, just see. I want to see this development. I want to see it, man. And I know it's been tough because this year with the COVID, man, it's been tough, and I know every team has dealt with it, but I feel like we've been hit hard by it. I shouldn't say we because I'm not on the team, but the Chicago Bulls have been hit hard by it. You know what I mean? Zach getting COVID at that time was just tough. I mean, that really hurt, and that's why sometimes I don't get the frustration because I feel like this team needs Zach, and without Zach, it really. I said it, and I believe on your show, I didn't think the play-in was going to be, without Zach, I didn't think we were going to make the play-in. So I just want to see how the organization rebounds from that. So
now that we're all thoroughly depressed, last couple of questions. All right, well, we're gonna end off on what's your most controversial take?
Let me go last on this one.
All right. We'll start with Larro, and we'll come around counterclockwise.
Gosh, man, can you come back to me? I really don't.
Sure. You didn't have one. You didn't have one prepared. You didn't have
it's just there's a bunch of them, man. But not a bunch. There's two that I'm really just like. I don't know yet.
Yeah. I feel like this one's hard for me because I feel like most of the time I really try and be reasonable. Like I really try and think through my takes and not just blow up about something or fire them off. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I would say the one I've gotten the most flack for is my continued assertion that Nikola Mirotic was actually a pretty good player. Most people hate me for that. So that one would probably be what it is, and second would probably be that I actually think Wendell Carter is actually pretty good too. So I don't know, but those are probably my two most controversial takes of the last decade, which Not saying much. I don't know. Maybe I really need to fire some stuff up in the oven a little more often, because I don't get the angry replies as much in my Twitter feed, because I don't do much of that stuff. So all right, let's see. Ed, what's your most controversial take?
Ooh, man, this is tough. It's got to be this decade or last decade. I'll say that I think mine is Tom Thibodeau had to go, and I liked the Fred Hoiberg signing at the time. I was a big fan of Fred Hoiberg in college. I thought his teams were really fun to watch. I thought he was a good communicator. I thought he was going to be a really solid NBA guy, and a lot of teams were looking at him. People forget that the Golden State Warriors, before they hired Mark Jackson, before they hired Steve Kerr, they were interested in Fred Hoiberg. So it wasn't like the Bulls, even though the Bulls had been plotting this for a while, it wasn't like they were completely out there when they got Fred Hoiberg initially. It didn't work out, but I thought Fred Hoiberg was going to be a good coach. And Thibodeau, even though he's still a really good head coach, it was clear that it was done. All the sabotage from the front office, it soured it. There was no way that they were just going to fire the front office and keep Thibodeau. It was done. Like, he had to go. So that was probably my most controversial, even though I feel like that's kind of tame.
It makes a lot of sense. I will say, even though it didn't work out for Fred, I'm not ready to say that he's not an NBA quality coach, because I really felt like he was never put in a position to succeed by management while he was here. Now, He did not do himself any favors at the beginning. I remember the famous quote where he talks about how Noah came to him and said he wanted to come off the bench for the good of the team, and he was really proud of Noah for doing that. And then Noah came out the next day and was like, I didn't say that. And so he was like, you're supposed to be this great communicator, and that's not a great start. But I thought I liked a lot of the aspects of his offense, and his fit with Jimmy Butler may have been questionable, but he also didn't really get any great people to run his style of offense on the team.
They gave him an aging rock band and wanted him to get that rock band back to their peak days. And then when he didn't in that one season, they broke up the rock band, and then they put together a new one, and they were like, all right, now do something good with this one. And then everyone's injured every season. I think Lowry, Zach, and Dunn only played 40 games or less or something like that in those 3 years. Like, it was some low number like that. So yeah, like you said, he wasn't put in the best position to succeed.
He didn't really get a full shot, I thought. But at the same time, I wasn't like super heartbroken about him leaving. Maybe I should have been, considering Jim Boylan was a replacement. But but also Jim Boylan hiring led to Paxson and Gar leaving. So I think ultimately it was probably the best decision the franchise made that decade.
Before Salim goes,
because you're up next, Larro. You're up. He said he has to be last, so you're up now.
So there's two I'm going back and forth with, but I think the one I'm going to go with is maybe not as controversial, but I feel like it is now because of the ascension of one of these players. I'll just, I think Derrick Rose is better than Jimmy Butler. I mean, not now, obviously, but I think there are some people that believe Jimmy, his tenure as a Bull is better than Derrick's in his prime, and I just don't believe in that. But that's
logging off. Salim's logging off right now.
Well, it's the irony that am I up or?
Yeah, that's all
the irony that you said that, because I got something that can make people mad. My opinion is that season, the 2016-17 season Jimmy Butler had, is the best season ever in a post-dynasty by a Bull. You look at Jimmy that year as a two-way player, he could still score. He was all NBA defensive caliber. He just didn't have the supporting cast like Derrick and that the team defense. You look at that team defense in 2010, 2011, it was like an all-time great defense. You put that same team around Jimmy, I think you would get the same results. That's my opinion, and that's my controversial pipe bomb to end the show. Everyone gonna be mad at me. That's cool. That's my controversial pipe bomb. I'll probably never hear from Larro again.
Yeah, Larro's gonna have to take a cold shower after this. He's steaming.
You know, I can see where you're coming from. You know what I mean? I see it. But man, Derek is just. I mean,
Derek is definitely. He was. I'm not saying he was only flash. He was more flash. He was flashier than Jimmy because the way he could burst, into the paint, the way he can rise up. No doubt. I'm just saying, like, when I look at that year Jimmy had, it was underrated in that respect too. Like, I swear, if Jimmy had a better team around him, I think he would have been a guy that would have been in the MVP conversation. He would have had, the same. I think we would have had the same success, if not more success, just because he was a better two-way player. But yeah, that's just my controversial take.
I would have loved to have prime Jimmy Butler on that squad when he first came to the Bulls. If we had prime Jimmy Butler, I think that team would have won it. But yeah. Well, we've gone for a long time. This has been a lot of fun. I was excited for this. I hope you guys had some fun with it. We got some good takes, and it got my mind off of the current Bulls a little bit. So I want to first shout out All Around Designs. He or she's the one that designed these Peel shirts. Yep. Larro's got another one with Vucci Maine on it. He's got some other ones, so you guys go check out his stuff.
Yeah, I gotta hit it. I gotta go get the P-Will shirt as well.
It's a good one. I like it. But thank you guys, Ed, Salim, for coming on to Bulls 101. It's been long overdue. I know we haven't been around that long, but it was long overdue to have you guys on, and we really enjoyed it. So let everyone know where they can find you, follow you on Twitter, follow Bulls Gold, and any other work you're doing.
Yeah, you can follow our account as at Bulls Gold on Twitter. You can follow Ed at Edward Shuler Jr. on Twitter. You can follow me at Jordan Dynasty on Twitter. We can listen to us live on, well, technically live, but on Dash Radio at 8 a.m. Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. Central on Tuesday mornings. And then also you can find us basically at any podcast platform out there. And then, we have an Instagram account too, but I've been kind of lazy on updating that. That's under the same goal at Bulls Gold. You can give us a follow. I'm going to try to get a little more active on there as well.
Well, you got an off season coming up. You should have a little more time on your hands. So you're not too depressed about the Bulls games because we won't be able to lose these bowl games. So, well, thanks again so much, guys, for coming on. I hope. Listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed kind of rolling back through this decade and remember some of the good and bad times. There are a whole lot of both for sure. Oh, yeah. So I think that's going to do it for us. Unless you guys have any final comments before we go, any one last hot take to fire off?
No other hot takes. Thank you again so much for having us on. It's I'm glad we've gotten to know each other over this past year. I feel like it's been maybe. But yeah, it's funny. I consider you guys friends, and it's nice to have this community that we're all we can all hang out like this, and then talk about this team that pisses us off.
We still love them.
Yeah, appreciate y'all showing us love, man. Like I said, the shows that we've been doing the last couple of months, this is the third time we've been recording together, and this has been a blast. So love what you guys are doing, love showing you guys love you guys showing love back. And yeah, man, just having this Bulls community where everybody is collaborating and we're all talking about this team, it's always great. So
yeah, I'm the Kris and Larro #1 fan. So I'm disappointed I'm not in the chat.
Yeah, I think Daniel Foy's got something to say about that, but I appreciate you guys both. Those are my guys. Yeah, I love the community. Makes it so much better for me. It makes it easy to make it through the hard times and really have people to enjoy the good times with us. So thank you guys for doing that and being there for us. So That'll do it for Bulls Gold or Bulls Gold. See, they don't look at. Go listen to Bulls Gold. Listen to the intro
Hey,
music.
plug, man.
Outro. That'll do it for the Bulls Gold Bulls 101 collab. It's the best one since Linkin Park and Jay-Z.
Yes.
Say that. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right.